So recently it's been confirmed that Season 8's main focus will be on-demand PvP, which is stunning for most players. This was confirmed by Mike Chapman himself on the official podcast, the second best Sea of Thieves focused podcast. It was also confirmed at EGX, so those who were there in person knew this before this announcement, and to really confirm it, Mike even said it on the Xbox Expansion Passes podcast. This announcement is absolutely fantastic, and I'm very excited to dive into this in 6 weeks' time. We don't know all that much about how, but this is going to be a new system that takes place in the world of Sea of Thieves and hopes to take the heat off of PvE players. In all honesty, just throwing PvP players or even Sea of Thieves players a bone makes Season 8 potentially the best season we've had, as the core facets of Season 1 to 7 were PvE focused with a side dish of PvP. Legend of the Veil and Fort of Fortune were designed to encourage fighting over loot, but just didn't have the shelf life to sustain that player interaction. And Season 8 will most certainly do that if it works on day one and there are plenty of rewards and long-term goals for everyone. I promise you all, I am so incredibly excited for this, but this podcast wasn't all good news. And no, it's nothing to do with the content of Season 8, but more so what this means for the community. There's been a brewing, let's say, discussion between much of the Sea of Thieves community that has been shared by content creators and pundits alike. The PvP and PvE discussion. Yes guys, I know I'm sick of it as well, but this needs to be talked about. With this announcement, I've seen lots of discontent from the PvE portion of the player base, where they are upset that a PvP season is coming to the game. Simply, the PvE only part of the player base has been catered to for the last 2 years, with PvP players being left behind, so I think it's nearsighted to be upset about this. The Discourse surrounds so many aspects of the gameplay and community that it's commonplace on all social media platforms and even in the game when you interact with people. The emissary system is just one of those points, where people aren't meant to be attacked while they have raised an emissary flag, despite the intended design of the system. This isn't the same as no one owes you a fight or running being okay, it's the fallout of being sunk while having an emissary flag and not understanding that's the point of the system. Many players will actually be confused in-game and outside of it as to why they've been sunk, or they have a giant juicy flag above them, and probably some loot too. Blurbs has posted a video of an encounter he had after sinking an Athena emissary. I think this really emphasises the discourse that goes on in the community.
If someone comes and sink me because I'm marked on the map, is that
as a PvP player? Yeah, totally your fault for marking yourself as a PvP player.
You are marking yourself as a PvP player by putting up an emissary flag.
No.
Yes.
Disagree. No. I'm not. No. There is literally a PvP flag I can go throw up on my ship to mark myself as PvP. Flags are not PvP. They are meant for me to get extra gold and experience.
I know you're upset with me, but you're the one that really opted into putting up a flag. You should be upset with yourself. I am only participating in the mechanics that the developers coded into the game.
I am not responsible for my own actions.
I'm going to say something controversial here, but people don't need a reason to sink you. You can attack and sink someone with 0 loot in Sea of Thieves, as is the beauty of the sandbox. As long as you're not a dickhead and shout slurs or what have you, the idea of the game is to live by your own code. That's why you have the whole ideological struggle between Athena's fortune and the Reaper's bones. It's a manifestation of the design philosophy. It's actually pretty clever when you think about it. And then you have portions of the community that just sees PvP as toxic. I found some YouTube comments that are honestly lamenting the idea of a PvP season. Some of the delights will be on the screen now. These were all found on Blurbs' videos and some other ones I've seen. I've even seen this sentiment bleed into the community decisions. I've seen so many people confirm they have fought to save Golden Sands, not to save the outpost or see where the story goes, but because they have vendettas of being killed by players flying a Reaper emissary flag. This attitude will bleed into the next decision. I can guarantee these comments will appear under my next propaganda video. The point is, Season 8 will cause this discourse to boil over and reach optimum levels of toxicity. Forums, Reddit, Twitter, and the game will be a shit show with "why didn't you go play Season 8, etc, etc. While Season 8 isn't a separate mode like Arena was, I do think it will bring in new people into the PvP fold. I don't know why I have to call them PvP players, most of them do both, but you get what I mean. On the other hand, it will deepen the discourse around PvP being toxic in this game. I think the statement of Season 8 taking the heat off of PvE players might have done more damage than we think. So, the marketing needs to ramp up about not only the core design of Sea of Thieves, but also why Season 8 inspires genuine competitiveness. You're never going to win over the hardcore, you just want to get the people on the fence on side. They also need to be clear that people opting into a system will not just leave you alone because it's opt-in only. PvP is the challenge in this game and the danger. always. Essentially, I don't want Season 8's features to fade like some other content due to player attitudes and the intended nature of it being deliberately misconstrued. Anyway, we do have a bit more news and I'll get to the worst part. Season 9 is planned for release in March of 2023. This sort of suggests that seasons could be 4 months long from now onwards, or at the very least they'll be 14 weeks if we're talking the absolute shortest. Drew does say this plan will be within their regular seasonal cadence, but we'll have to see how this turns out. I think it's safe to say these longer seasons are here to stay. If seasons are larger or they have better longevity in their systems, then that's fine by me. But if they're to the scale of the seasons outside of Season 6, then this will hurt the game massively. You guys have been fairly negative as the adventures have gone on, so will this sustain us between seasons? Let me know down below. I could be worried for nothing, but I'm being cautiously optimistic as we go into the new year. At least, can we drop seasons as a name, as there's 4 seasons a year and not 3 as we've had this year? Tall Tales look to be making a potential return. Sort of, well, maybe not. I'd asked on Twitter if Tall Tales were going to make a return, and they answered it on the podcast.
AShinyRay, is that right? Yes, AShinyRay.
Is this the question or the name?
AShinyRay.
Yeah.
I know AShinyRay.
Good, right.
Mike replied, never say never, but there are no plans as of now. It seems Rare is content with the adventure model and Tall Tales may return in the future. My bets will be on the inevitable Pirate's Life Part 2, where Hook is revealed to be the captain. On the case of Mysteries 2, Mike spoke about the feedback that was shared by the community regarding the first one, and they've firmly taken this on board, which I have every faith that this will be the case. I didn't partake in the first mystery, mainly because the steps were solved by people who have much more time than me on their hands, and the clues were revealed in such a way that it was impossible to make a video on them, not without a serious dip in quality and my social life. I hope that aspect is a little better in the future, but that's not to say we won't have summaries of the mysteries. Anyway, this is just a short stopgap video today to keep you guys updated. I'm certainly not the first to talk about this, and anyway, I hope I've added a bit of value to the news. So thanks again for watching, make sure to subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.